Wow! What's happening, everybody? That's right, it's your boy. We are back, we are back, we are back. Welcome to Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I am here, your host, and I have another powerful and incredible, incredible podcast for you today. This was inspired by something that happened this week. And as a matter of fact, before I get into that, let me just shout out everybody and say hello to everybody that's logging in from wherever you're logging in from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us on today or this morning or this evening or whenever you're logging in. Thank you for listening to us on today. Now, this weekend, we had an absolutely incredible event, a training for our company, One Voice Worldwide Next. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. But in the midst of the actual training, we were training. We were having a great time. It was amazing. It was amazing. Listen to me. It was amazing. It was so amazing that we're having a business meeting on Saturday. We're having a business meeting. I don't want to mess it up, but it's the Next Level live business meeting. It is going to be phenomenal. All right, so enough of that, because I want to get into this podcast. But in the midst of all of that, something came across my thoughts, and I shared a little bit about it on the actual on the training. But I wanted to go a little bit deeper. We just didn't have enough time. So I said, you know what? Since we didn't have enough time actually on the training, I actually want to do it on my podcast. So bear with me. The title or the topic is preparation versus fixing. Yeah, preparation versus fixing. Now, why is all of that? See, we started talking about just different things about being successful and making things happen. And I remember a friend of mine would always mess with me when I'm cooking, right? And he'd be like, he would always say, there you go, you about to start preparing. Yes, I'm about to start preparing, right? And for whatever reason, God just dropped that back in my head about the whole preparation and fixing and all of that. So I want to take my time and walk through this because preparation is intentional. Fixing is reactive. Let me say that again. Businessmen, women, business owners, entrepreneurs, listen to this. This is very, very important. Preparation is intentional. Fixing is reactive. Preparation happens before the problem. Fixing happens after the problem. One is driven by purpose. The other is driven by problems. That's how deep I really want to go with this thing. I'm really that excited because when you really start breaking it down, that's in everything. That's in everything. So, I love y'all. I know y'all probably laugh at me, but I like to cook, right? And there are days where, let's say like on a Saturday, I get a chance to get in the kitchen and, tinkle around with the pots and the pans, right? So how much of our lives is spent preparing and how much of our lives is spent fixing? Just that statement, or those two questions, make me want to throw my remote, my TV, my phone, and everything else, because that begins to answer a lot of questions, right? So let's start with point number one. Let's start with the cooking. Great cooking begins before we even turn the stove on. Even before we start talking about what we're going to cook on Sundays. As a matter of fact, I remember both of my grandmothers, when they were cooking, and they had the Sunday meals the Sunday meals, they started preparing way before the Sunday meals. You guys know what I mean? First of all, they decided what they were going to cook. They're going to decide what what they're going to cook. Sometimes it could be Tuesday or Wednesday of that week. My mom sometimes would that Sunday before, she'd be like, oh, next Sunday, I'm going to cook ... right? So even before everything happens, you have to decide what you're cooking, right? Stay with me, because this is really deep. Then after that, you have to buy all of the ingredients. You have to go grocery shopping. Or if you're in New Orleans, we go and buy groceries, right? you know what I mean? We going there, right? So you have that. We also now, you can't just go shopping. You can't go buy groceries, right? You can't do any of those things. What we have to do, I'll say in New Orleans, we go and make groceries. You can't do any of that. Well, and once you do it and you do decide you're going to the store, now you also have to make sure you're buying the right ingredients. You got to get Kitchen Bouquet, and you got to get Tony. Some people like seasonal. I go through all of them, but you guys get my point, right? So some people like Obey. In New Orleans, people look at you with Obey and it's like they won't fight. Like, what is Obey? I'm gonna obey you all. But you got to make sure you're buying the right ingredients. Now, after you buy the right ingredients, then you come back and you wash the meats and the vegetables, and you get all of that stuff. Some things you may have to marinate, like to let it marinate. So you still have to even make the marinade to put on whatever it is you're putting on, right? You have to cut up the seasoning, or the onions, or the garlic, or the bell pepper, or the green bell pepper, the orange bell pepper, the yellow bell. You guys get my point. The celery, all of that. So you're making this nice blend, right? Now, this is just a personal point. I don't do recipes. And I know y'all probably gonna say, how you cook? I don't do recipes. I cook from the heart. So when I'm preparing this with love, right? So then you're preparing the kitchen. You may have to preheat the oven and all of those things, because we are preparing everything. We're making sure everything. Now, here's the thing. This is not the fun part of cooking, right? This is not glamorous. You don't hear anybody will ever compliment you on your grocery shopping skills. Nobody compliments you on how well you washed off the vegetables, or how well you measured, or you seasoned, or you sprinkled, salt and pepper, or Tony's, or whatever it is on whatever, right? But at the same time, the quality of the meal is determined, listen to this, before the cooking ever begins. Because if you don't prepare, you don't go grocery shopping, or you don't go make groceries, you don't do any of those things, clearly you don't have a meal. But as you beginning to shop and you're sorting through, to all of my One Voice members, you're sorting through the vegetables, because you want the best vegetables and all those stuff. When you're sorting through that is making sure the quality of the meal is going to be great, right? So in the principle, success is determined long before people even see it. I'm catching all kind of people with that one right there. Success is determined long before people see it. So if you're already out there and you're doing business, and all of my One Voice family, and you may have not had a successful week, it doesn't matter. You still preparing. You've prepared. And success is determined long before people see it. So they may not see you preparing and doing things. You might be in the car business. They may not see a victory yet, but they see you're preparing, and they see it. And they see this, and then when the success comes, people think it's an overnight hit. It's not. Success is determined long before people see it. People celebrate what happens at the table. See, when you're cooking and the meat is falling off the bone, or it's falling, you can cut it with a fork, or you don't need a knife, and all of those things. And it's like, oh, Now, people are celebrating that, but they didn't see you in the grocery store, right? They didn't see that, but they see the end result. They see the end result. They don't see you sweating and all that in the kitchen, but they see the end result. So that's number one. Number two, flavor is built, not added. Hand clap for that one. If I'm making gumbo, or if I'm fixing gumbo or cooking gumbo, however people want to say it, nobody makes great gumbo by just dumping seasoning into a pot. It's not going to work. You have to develop those flavors, right? It's layer after layer, seasoning after seasoning, taking your roux and getting down in there and slowly going through it. You know, when you're making that real gumbo, I ain't talking about the play gumbo. When you're making that real gumbo, you know, you getting down in there and you making sure that roux go from white to light brown to the color of brown you want in your actual gumbo, you know, and you cooking and you stirring that pot and you making sure it gets to that flavor, and then you start to add different things and adjust a little bit here and adjust a little bit more. I need a little bit more this sauce, or I need a little bit more that sauce, and you dashing and you splashing and you tasting and you adjusting as you're cooking and you tasting again, and everything builds to a certain point. By the end of all of that preparation and all of that tasting and adjusting and moving and all of that stuff, the flavor deepens. The flavor at that point now gets deep. You know, it now becomes rich, and now it has the balance because it was developed over time. See, we didn't just go and just throw it in there. It was developed. So here's principle, right? Character develops, leadership develops, wisdom develops, business develops, relationships develop, faith develop. Nothing truly great is added at the end. Because over time you're building it. It is built throughout your journey. Listen to this. Listen, family. Throughout your journey, your flavor is actually being developed. It's great. There's a quote in here. Let me read this quote. Because I had to write it down. Y'all know me. I've even forgotten, butchered the quote. You don't add excellence at the end. You build it through the process. Let me read that again. You don't add excellence at the end. You build it throughout the process. So throughout your process you're going through, you're just getting better and better and better, right? You stirring the pot for your gumbo, it's just getting better and better and better. So that's where we're going, right? Remember, preparation versus fixing. So let's go to number 3. Fixing is always more expensive. Y'all know this. Y'all know this. Think about this. If you forget an ingredient on cooking something, it may or may not work. You know, you probably could fix it up and just this and this, right? But burn your food. Burn that flour, burn that roux, burn that grease, burn that gravy. And now you got to start over. Or now you got to try something else. Overcook the meat. Y'all ever had tough meat, just dry? Yep, it just doesn't work, right? Now you got to try to add something. You got to try to put the meat in something to make it moist again. All of those things, that's adding steps, adding time, adding everything. You know, if you put too much salt, you might as well throw the whole pot in the garbage can. I mean, just throw everything, just throw it outside, right? Because you're saying like, now what? Now you're trying to rescue a meal that perhaps you didn't prepare properly for. Sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. Even if you save it, it still isn't what it could have been. Think about that. If you save it, right, and you put more water in so it's not as salty, right? Okay, it's great, but now you didn't water down the flavor. Now you didn't water down the gravy. You didn't water down other stuff, right? You may have even overcooked the meat or whatever it is. You saved it and it tastes okay, but it's never where it could have been. It's just not. If you look at business, think about this. If you didn't train an employee, now you're fixing all of their mistakes. If you're in One Voice and you don't go to training, now you're trying to help them fix things. Now you got to go to training, right? You got to build that. You got to build it. Don't build culture. Now you didn't build a culture. Now you're trying to fix their attitudes, right? If you're talking to somebody and they got a nasty attitude because of all of the other stuff, you didn't build it. Didn't establish the system. Guess what? Now you're fixing all of the chaos. In business, you better establish and build your system rightly to eliminate a whole bunch of issues, right? If you don't communicate, now you're fixing misunderstanding. In relationships, pay attention to everybody that's married, not married, want to be married, want to be in a relationship. Communication will stop thousands upon dollars of going down the trash just on communication. If you communicate in business, if you communicate in negotiations, if you communicate in your spiritual walk, if you communicate, I'm telling you, communication is going to help. Because if not, now you're fixing a whole bunch of misunderstandings, right? Let's look at relationships. If you didn't invest in trust, now you're literally trying to either build or rebuild in trust. You didn't communicate early, now you're having to repair a whole bunch of hurt, right? I mean, that's what you're doing. You're just trying to repair a whole bunch of hurt. You didn't protect the relationship, now you're trying to restore it. And man, you talking about expensive, and it will never be where it could have been if we would have prepared at the beginning, right? So if you think about it, yeah, preparation costs time, but fixing costs opportunities. Woo! Preparation costs discipline. Let me say that again. Preparation costs discipline. Fixing costs damage. Woo! Yeah. It's hard, it's hot, but it's right. Preparation is usually private, right? Because you don't see anybody in your kitchen. I mean, unless you have company and you're cooking, but outside of that, you don't see people in your kitchen when you're preparing and you're getting ready to cook. But fixing is usually public. Yeah. Because if you at the dinner table, somebody say, "Oh, it's too salty." Now you got to try to fix it. Now you got to try to rush and do something, right? Or somebody say, "Oh, the meat dry." Now you got to try to figure out how to make the meat more moist. I can go on and on and on, but you guys get the point, right? So number 4, here's why I'm going to say why people avoid preparation. Because preparation isn't exciting. It's not. Going to training is not exciting all the time. It's just not. Let's just keep it 100. It's not. It's not. But is it necessary? 1000% it's necessary. Preparation isn't visible. Now you're not going to get attaboys and pats on the backs or none of that stuff because it's not visible. Preparation doesn't get applause. It's visible, don't get your applause, all of that stuff. Because preparation is not visible and you're not going to get applause. Everyone creates everyone celebrates the finished product. Everyone celebrates the finished product. Everybody. Nobody celebrates the preparation. When the last time somebody came to you and said, "Hey, I sure like the way you put the water in the pot," and pat you on the back and give you a high five? Nobody ain't saying that. People admire the championship. They ignore the practice. One Voice. People celebrate you becoming crown ambassador. But people don't see what it took for you to get to crown ambassador. See, they ignored all of your practice, all of the times that you stayed up at night, practicing your presentation, practicing your training, practicing your inflection of your voices, practicing with different leaders, making sure you develop leaders, all of that stuff. See, they ignore all of that. But when you become Crown Ambassador, now they're celebrating and they admire that, which is great. But when we talk about preparation, we are already preparing to be whatever that is that we're going to. People admire successful businesses. They ignore the years of planning. They ignore the years of adjusting and moving and all of those other things to help people become successful. They ignore that. People admire a healthy marriage. They admire that. They admire the healthy marriage. They ignore the daily investment though. They ignore the time when they put the phones down and they sit there and they just talk. Hey, how was your day? And they just communicate with each other. People admire the leader, but they ignore the preparation behind the scenes. They ignore the books you have read. They ignore the events you went to make yourself better, a better leader. They ignore the part of them getting a mentor or in developing that. They ignore the part of them reading so much. All of those things, they ignore them, as I like to say, go to YouTube University. They ignore all of those things to make themselves better. They ignore all of that. See, everyone wants the meal. Few enjoy preparing it. Everyone wants the promotion, but few enjoy the preparation. So you have to make that decision. If you understand it in the bigger picture, preparation versus fixing. Do you want it to be expensive or less expensive? Do you want it to be tasty or taste like a cardboard? It's up to you. It's up to you. All right. Number 5, preparation is an act of love. I love this. Let me tell you why I love this. When I'm in the kitchen cooking, I'm in my own zone. I'm in my own zone. Even when I'm sprinkling seasoning on meat or something, right? I'm in my own zone. Like I want every edge to be caught. I want everything to be evenly distributed. Everything. If I'm cutting up seasoning, I want it to be perfect. I don't want one big size and one small size. No, I want it all. I literally want it all. I do. This is one of the, probably my favorite principles. My grandmother's cooking on Sunday. Long before everything arrived, she started. Mentally, she started. She wasn't cooking because she had to. She prepared because why? People matter. If in your business people matter, you're going to prepare. If in your relationships people matter, you're going to prepare. If you're cooking and you're going to give it to somebody or even yourself, it matters. So keep that in mind, right? When my grandmother thought about everyone before she even walked through the door, preparation says you matter. I value you. She was saying, you matter. I value you. In your business, can you honestly say you matter? I value you because I have been preparing for this moment. In business, preparing for a meeting tells people your time matters. Don't go to a meeting with stuff every which way and don't come on time, all of that stuff. That's saying your time doesn't matter. But when you're preparing, and you're prepared and you walk into that meeting, it's literally telling that person, listen, your time matters. Even in marriage, preparing for conversations say our relationship matters. Sometimes you say like, hey, can we talk, sweetie, real quick? And then they doing something else and they doing this, they're not paying attention, they all over the place. That's saying, okay, this relationship really not mattering. But when they stop and say, girlfriend, I'm gonna call you right back. Let me talk to Stanley real quick and I'll call you back. Now we can converse because now we want to have that relationship, that direct communication. And now because you're prepared, you don't even have to take long time. Hey, on this Saturday, we have an event and I would love for you to be a part of this event. Check your calendar and see if you have the space or the bandwidth to do it. I would love for you to be the support with me. It's that simple, right? Because you prepared for the conversation. Parenting. Preparing for your children to say, you matter enough that I planned ahead. You know, children ain't gonna remember their book bag, or they gonna forget this, or they gonna forget that. Y'all know how it is. They forgot. Matter of fact, Gabrielle was going to, with her aunts, she was going somewhere. She was going to a water park, right? And she forgot one of her, she forgot something. And she was just looking. She was so happy to go on the trip, but she forgot whatever it was. She forgot it. Ma'am, where you going? You forgot. And she had that look like, right? But what parents do is prepare for those things to make sure that they have, right? Even in ministry, right? Preparing a sermon, or you're preparing for worship, you're preparing for a leadership meeting, you're preparing, your preparation is respect. That's what it is. So when you're preparing a sermon, you're preparing worship or leadership, all it's saying is, I respect you. If you're preparing a sermon, you're saying, God, I respect you give me this wonderful opportunity. If you're preparing to worship, it's God, I respect, thank you. And I respect the part that you've given me this opportunity, right? And so on and so on. Preparation communicates value before a single word is spoken. Let me say that again. Preparation communicates value before a single word is spoken. That's what it does. That's what it does. Let me trickle on to number 6. Let me trickle on to number 6. God himself, God is a God of preparation. God is a God of preparation. God is a God of preparation. Let me break this down for you. I slow it down a little bit. Because if you look throughout the Bible, God never prepares, gives something or promotes without preparation. Let's first look at the one everybody like to talk about a lot. That's Noah. They talk about Noah was a drunk, and they always want to bring up something negative, right? But check this out. It took years upon years for Noah to build the boat or the ark, right? It took him forever and check this out, without any rain or evidence of rain. But it took years of preparation, and then the rain came. Joseph was in the pit, to the jail, to everything in between. The family was trying to get rid of him, all kind of stuff. But it took him years of preparation before he walked into leadership. David, who's probably outside of Jesus, my favorite character in the Bible. David, I call y'all forgive me, y'all keep praying for me. I say David a pimp, boy. David was a beast, right? David the king. But before he became king, before he ascended to the throne, David was in the pasture. Think about the story, right? They came and they want God wants Samuel to anoint one of Jesse's children, male childs. Went through all 10, and none of them like, no, that's not him. And then they found David in the field. They didn't even have enough, whatever you want to call it, to bring David in to go through the process. They had to go through all of them, and then finally it was like, surely there's somebody else. And it was like, you can't be talking about my son David. They say, bring him here. They brought him, and all of a sudden, God said, that's him, right? Before, because he was in the pasture, before all of that, and then after all of that, y'all know he got on the run and so on and so forth. But before all of that, before he got to the throne, it was years still in the pasture being prepared to take the throne. Yes. Look at Esther. Months of preparation before one conversation. I'm getting excited. I'm trying to bring myself back down. Months of preparation before one conversation changed everything. Before it changed everything. Now, my favorite character in the whole Bible is Jesus. 30 years of preparation. And y'all complaining because it's 6 months because y'all don't have success. 30 years of preparation. 30 years of preparation. 30 years of preparation for 3 years of ministry. Yep. 30 years of preparation for 3 years of ministry. See, preparation isn't punishment. Preparation is proof that what is coming requires a stronger foundation. Let me say that again for those that have to prepare, or you may have looked at preparation in a different aspect. Preparation is proof that what is coming requires a stronger foundation. God prepares people before his positioned people. Yes. When God starts preparing you to put you somewhere, let me tell y'all from real talk. I'm telling you, if you go through any of that, it hurts. Some stuff he strips away from you. You just don't even want it to be stripped because you enjoy it, right? You really enjoy that. Still, he strips it because he understands the foundation has to be solid. And as he prepares you, you can look back and see it, but when he's preparing you, it's not always fun. It's not going to be celebrated. Like I talked about the water in the pot. You put water in the pot, people don't pat you on the back for gumbo because you put water in the pot. They thank you at the end because they see the crab, the shrimp, and the sausage, and the thises and thises and thises. They don't thank you for all of that other stuff. Yeah. Come on, fam. Let's go. Preparation versus fixing. I promise you, if you mess up with God and you got to fix it, that's going to cause something heavy. I'm telling you from experience. I'm not saying from what I heard. I'm telling you from experience. You mess up with God, it's going to you, and you got to fix it. It's going to cost. It's no other way around it. Or some people say you're going to take this medicine, and that medicine ain't going to taste good. I'm telling you. I promise you. I promise you. So prepare and walk your route. Stay in your purpose, and you don't have to worry about the fixing part. Yep. Let me do number 7. Then we climb on out of here. Maybe you're asking God to fix something. Right? Let's make this a little bit personal. Maybe you're praying for something. Let's say you're praying for your marriage. God, fix my marriage. God says, prepare yourself. I'm praying for my marriage, God. Fix yourself. See, prepare yourself. Don't fix yourself, excuse me. Prepare yourself. Yeah, see that's when you gotta go grocery shopping or make groceries. You gotta go get the onion and the celery. That's not glamorous. You gotta prepare yourself. Maybe you're praying this. God bless my business. And I know a lot of people are praying that. God says, prepare your systems. Now, here's the question. Have you really prepared your system? In One Voice, have you went to training.onevoiceww.com and literally went through the training? I'm asking for the people in the back row, not for me, but for you, right? Because if you're praying, God bless my business, then you have to prepare the system. You have the system. Do you understand the system? Are you there with the system? Can you teach the system? All of that works together, right? Maybe you're praying this. God send opportunities. Well, God says prepare your capacity. Because if you don't have the opportunity, if you don't have the capacity, he's not going to put more on you than you can bear. You can best believe that. That's not what he's going to do. He is not going to do that. So prepare your capacity. If you want millions, you got to understand how to deal with hundreds. If you want billions, you got to understand how to deal with 100, 10,000, 100,000 before you get to billions. He's not going to put more on you than you can bear. Maybe you've been asking God for promotion while resisting preparation. Let me say that again. Have you ever asked God for promotion, but you didn't want to do the work that is required for the promotion? Yeah. In order to pass this test, you have to read this book. You just want to pass the test without reading the book. It doesn't work that way. You have to pass the test. You have to read the book. Let me do number 8 real quick. Ask yourself this. What am I constantly fixing? Why does this keep happening? What preparation have I ignored? What opportunity am I asking God for that I haven't prepared to receive? Am I reacting to life or preparing for it? Let me read that one more again. Ask yourself, what am I constantly fixing? Why does this keep happening? What preparation have I ignored? What opportunity am I asking God for that I haven't prepared for to receive? Am I reacting to life or preparing for it? All of those things you have to ask. So think about this. The next time you eat one of my meals or somebody else's meal, or you go somewhere and get some chicken wings, right? Just think about it. Just remember this. The best part of the meal wasn't created in the last 5 minutes. So when Cockeyes, that's Popeyes, drop their chicken, or KFC or Bojangles or whoever, right? Drop their chicken. The creation or the greatness didn't happen when that happened. It was created while someone was shopping, while somebody was in the back taking the, like in Church's Chicken, you see them in the back with that flour, putting that chicken together, seasoning it all up, marinating, doing all of those things. That's when the flavor and all of that stuff, because they're preparing for it. They planned for it. And then they waited for it to come out the grease at the perfect time so it can be served, so you can have that great taste. The meal was excellent because the preparation was intentional. You look at anybody, I'm using frying chicken, frying a steak, baking a steak, making seafood boil, anything you're thinking about, that's good. If you're talking about baking salmon and putting crab meat on top and sprinkling with a little bit of cream sauce with some shrimp and some crawfish in it, you talking about doing something at that level. Or you may be talking about, think about this, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But you still have to prepare for it. You can't just say, oh, I'm gonna make peanut butter and jelly and never get the peanut butter or the jelly. You got to go shopping for it, right? You got to go get the right, is it going to get jelly, or you getting strawberry preserve? Or are you getting this kind of peanut butter or that kind of peanut butter? What kind of bread are you getting? See, all of those things getting together. All for you to say, do I want to toast the bread or do I not want to toast it? Do I want to toast hard or do I want to toast light? All of that stuff you have to put together. You have to put together, because that's when you become intentional. Intentional. Life works exactly the same. You can prepare for your future, your business, your marriage, your leadership, your ministry, because it is intentional. Will never consistently rise above the quality of your preparation. None of those, whether your future, your business, your marriage, your leadership, your ministry, your whatevers, your dadas and dadas, it will never consistently rise above the quality of your preparation. If you're not training, the results you want will rarely rise consistently above your preparation. In a relationship, the same thing. Preparation is an investment. Fixing is expensive. Preparation is an investment. Fixing is expensive. I'm going to leave that there, because you cannot go past fixing. You can't, because it's expensive. Now, preparation, on the other hand, yes. I want to keep going, actually, because I feel good. Yeah, y'all know I'm a little thrown off. I feel good, because preparation determines capacity. The size of the pot determines how much gumbo you can actually make. The size of your preparation determines how much success you can sustain. The size of your preparation determines how much success you can sustain. Many people pray for a bigger harvest while still bringing the same bucket. Y'all know you can't put new wine into old wine skin. Stop it. You got to bring a bigger bucket. When he told them to go out and cast the nets on this side, he cast one net. If you would have cast multiple nets, God knows how much fish you would have bought in. Yeah, I'm all in your Kool-Aid now. So how much of us are also being disobedient? We're not preparing when God, your creator, have told you to prepare. Yeah, it may not be fancy. You may not be able to eat that some of the great steakhouses or seafood spots around the world because you haven't prepared. But once you prepare and you get yourself together and begin to understand all of the things that's going on, and you're preparing for capacity, you're comparing your mindset, you're comparing your energy, you're preparing your thoughts, you're preparing your business, you're preparing your ministry, you're preparing your leadership, you're preparing your relationship, you're preparing all around. Now you can expect that increase that you've been praying for. See, God often increases opportunity only after he sees an increased capacity to handle it. That's all I said. That's all I said. So will you increase your capacity to handle it? And guess where it starts? With preparation. It starts with preparation. Yes. Okay, let me get out of here. Because I feel myself getting worked up and all excited. I'm about to start praying and everything else. So I'm just that excited. Because I understand people collectively really want the massive success. But the link in the chain that's missing is your preparation. What is preparation? Whatever you define it as, whether it's training, whether it's getting the food, whether it's going grocery shopping, whether it's spending time, quality time, whether it's putting your phone down and spending time with your creator, whatever the preparation is, we have to get much better at it. And we're going to have the results that we've always wanted. You've always saying it. Think about it. All right, let's get out of here. I love you guys. I will see you guys next week on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I'm just in another zone right now. I'm excited. I'm about ready to jump off the building at this point with excitement. I can't wait. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next week on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. Listen, we're going to have a lot of fun and we're going to keep growing and making things happen. So guess what?